In today's video, we're going to be looking at Chelsea 1, Borussia Dortmund 1. If you recognise anything wrong with my voice, I've just got a bit of a cold, so just allow that if you can. And yeah, we're going to get into a few little tactical things I noticed, a few players that played well, and a few shapes that we saw, because I've been getting a lot of stuff on Twitter about the shapes. So here's the starting lineup that we started with in the 4-2-3-1 that we're used to seeing. We've got Kepa in goal, Colwill, Silva, James and Chilwell, Enzo and Gallagher, with Carney in front in the 10, Sterling and Kunku and Jackson to complete that lineup. And that takes us into shape 1. So this is a shape that we've been seeing throughout the whole of pre-season, making that 3 at the back, 2 pivot in midfield to make that 5-man build-up from the back, 6 if you include Kepa. Then you've got Kunku and Carney at the top of the box, and Kunku was coming in from that left-hand side. Obviously, when he went off injured quite early on in the game, Mudryk actually did play this position, which I found slightly surprising. But also, I like the fact that Pochettino is willing to try it and try and form a connection with all the players and make it so that they're fluid enough to play that role. So Mudryk, who obviously is much better out on the touchline and getting at players on the touchline, being a touchline winger, the fact that Pochettino trusts him to play in that role that Nkunku is playing as well, so he can go between the touchline and the inside spaces, that's a really good sign. So we saw that box midfield be created. Then we had Chilwell, Sterling offering width, and Jackson. There was also at times where Chilwell would actually drop into the 3 and Reece would push forward, and that was more so when Mudryk come on. So as you can see here, that leads us into shape 2. So Chilwell actually at times did drop into that back 3, which is again something that you wouldn't necessarily associate with Ben Chilwell's game. He's more of a touchline wing back, likes to get up and down that flank, uses energy, uses pace, and sort of just used his skill set out wide. But he was cutting inside more, getting on the ball when Reece did push forwards, and then Mudryk could come out to that touchline as well on the left to offer width. So the fact that he wants Chilwell to be able to do this shows how fluid Poch wants to be with his play. He wants Reece to be able to go forward and then Chilwell to tuck in, or Chilwell to go forward and Reece to tuck in. He wants both sides to be able to do that so that it's less predictable and it can happen throughout the game. They can change which way they want to go. So I thought that was really interesting because we haven't actually seen Chilwell do that too many times this pre-season. It's been more so Cucurella when Reece has been pushing forward, playing in that left centre-back role. So it's good that we've seen Chilwell try that now. And then we have shape 3, which was in the second half. Now, first thing to point out, because I've been getting loads of tweets on Twitter, people just not understanding. Of course, I'm not saying Gallagher is a centre-back. In the build-up, we saw the 4-2-3-1, which is the formation on paper. Everybody, in every single time that I show a shape, the actual formation we're playing is a 4-2-3-1. But this is the shape that is formed through rotations in build-up. So in build-up in the second half, Chilwell and Reece were both offering width on each side, which meant Gallagher, or sometimes Enzo, but it was more Gallagher in this game, which I found interesting, was dropping in between the two centre-backs to offer that third man to build up from the back. And obviously then Carney and Enzo were the extra option to make that 5 to 6 man build-up play. Chilwell and Reece would do sort of what they did under Tuchel in that wing-back role. They would play not too high up into, like in the first phase of progression, they would play a little bit deeper and then they would go a bit further up. And then obviously the front 3, they're a bit more interchangeable in this instance when you're playing like this. They're more so to make runs in behind after we break that first phase of build-up. And also the two forwards, the inside left and inside right forwards, they actually do create the box once we get into that second phase of play between them two and Enzo and Carney, or Enzo and Gallagher when Gallagher pushes forward. So that box can be created in a number of different ways when you're playing with the halfback. So obviously that's the role that they name what Gallagher was doing there. It's the halfback role. It's what Pochettino did with Tottenham, with Eric Dyer, to drop in and become that third centre-back just to play out from the back. It's not actually playing as a centre-back, but it's to build up. They drop in there to create that 3 across the back line to build up from the back, and then have 2 in the pivot, which actually became Carney from the 10. And then once we bypassed that first phase, Carney would also push back into his number 10. Gallagher would push back into that double pivot with Enzo, and it would sort of create 2 centre-backs, and then everybody else was sort of pushed past the halfway line for the second phase of progression. Hopefully that makes sense. Ask in the comments if you have any questions. But here are my tweets from after the game. This is about 3 a.m. I was tweeting these. But my first half thoughts. Pochettino trying to be as fluid as possible. As I mentioned, Reece and Chilwell both trying to rotate between those third centre-back roles. So he wants that to be able to be fluid on both sides so that it's less predictable, and it means that you can get the most out of Reece and Chilwell attacking. You're not just limiting one of them to sit back. Jackson, his runs in behind and hold-up play is so elite, and for a level that we haven't seen in a long time. He's a dream for these players to play with because he's got this ability to run in behind, and he's just always making a run. And the likes of Enzo, Colwill, Silva, they don't even have to look. They know where he's going to be. So once there is a connection formed between these players, it's going to be devastating. Those runs in behind from Jackson being found by the likes of Colwill, Enzo, Silva, and even Reece. The defensive shape seems to be carrying on in that 4-4-2/4-4-1-1 shape. That's more so when we're set in defence, so from a set piece, or we have the chance to reset into that shape. Obviously, when we're counter-pressing, it's a bit different because it's more so at that point about nearest man pressing and pressing as a unit. But when we are in shape, it looks to be that 4-4-2 most often, where the 10 joins the front two and they press as the front two. Then you have the left mid, right mid, two central midfielders and a back four created. That's been quite common throughout pre-season, and it looks like that's what's going to be the defensive set shape for Chelsea going into the season. And the last first half thought, hopefully Nkunku's okay. Just about his injury. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Didn't look too serious. It was more of just an impact injury. It looked with his ice pack on it after the game, and he was saying he was okay. So let's just hope he's back for the Liverpool game, because it would be a huge miss if he's not. And that leads us into the second half thoughts. So the first point I made was more so about the shape, which I've already mentioned, how we used a half-back to play out from the back. Gallagher was doing it most, but Enzo did do it at times. But I think Pochettino wanted to see Gallagher doing it, because if we sign someone like Caicedo, it would be their job to do that, so that Enzo can be used more to attack and his creative aspects, so we get more out of his creative aspects. Mudryk's was just electric, his pace, his directness, and most importantly in this game for me, the thing that stood out was his balls into the box were just unbelievable. Two set pieces that I just thought were perfectly weighted crosses that both could have went to goals, and one of them did end up coming to a goal with that deflected. Mudryk's ball went in, they sort of cleared it, but Enzo kept it alive and we scored. But yeah, Mudryk's, his final ball is very high quality, so if the players start to build a connection around Mudryk and they know where he's going to put it and they know to fill the box when he gets the ball, a lot of goals are going to be scored off of Mudryk's crosses this year, because his actual final ball is very, very good, very underrated. I've already touched on Jackson, but I'm just going to say he's going to be a nightmare for defenders. So that is basically all I have to say on Jackson, other than what I've already covered. Burstow's goal was very well deserved. Nice little looping header over the top with that Enzo assist. He deserved that goal. We deserved that goal. And that's all there is to it. We should have won this game by multiple goals. We should have had the penalty in the first half. So, yeah, deserved the goal. And the central defensive partnership is the last thing I'm going to touch on. They were both excellent. Both so assured. Both so good at reading the game. Colwill at such a young age, nearly half the age of Silva. But they just looked so well paired together. They both knew exactly what they were doing at all times. Obviously, Silva does all the time. But they were just, if one would push, the other one would slightly cover him behind. They read the game so well. Their passing range is just so nice to see together. And it's nice to have two really calm heads at the back. We haven't really got a rash centre-back with those two. There's not really an aggressive one there, which I know some people have their gripes with, that they think that we're not going to be winning the ball back in dangerous, before the ball gets into our final third. But that doesn't worry me, because these two are just so good at reading the game that if one of them does get bypassed, the other one is there to cover. So I'm very, very enthused with that back two. So what did you guys think of the Chelsea-Dortmund game? What did you think of the whole pre-season that we had? Unbeaten, very nice to go into the season with, and I'm very excited to get the season underway against Liverpool on the 13th, I think it is, Sunday. So please do leave a like, comment down below. All of this really does help. Leave any feedback. Please do subscribe. And like I said, let me know what you think of this pre-season so far. I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with a lot of the performances. And hopefully we can get going into the league, get a win on the board to start the league off. and we'll see what happens from there. So I'll see you guys next time.